Perfect. So what I've done is when you download this software, it will appear in your Windows or laptop computer like this. So what you need to do is you simply right-click on it and you run as administrator. So some of us may not have administrative rights to our computer. So don't worry, you can ask the administrator in your company or your organization to be able to do this or grant you the rights to be able to install the software. So when you click on run, it's going to open an interface. So it's going to open an interface whereby you need to say yes to the user access control. So you click yes to the user access control. And then when you do that, you'll be able to have the first interface that opens. So the first interface that opens is called a Daemon Master. So a Daemon Master is basically a platform. Remember, the eStation that we have, what we call the full GMES eStation, it's made in Linux, so it has been programmed to work in Linux computer. So for you to have access of a Linux program, or what we would call Ubuntu, and so many of those operating systems to run on a Windows computer, we did what we call a bridge to be able to allow us to run the Linux or the Linux program in a Windows computer. So what you do is you say next, and then make sure that you accept the permission. So this is very, very important. You need to look up for this and make sure that you check that box to access the permission or to accept the permission. So when you're done, then you can click next. Now, normally the directory where the program is going to be installed is selected by default. Now, sometimes people want to change this, but it's not recommended because you might have challenges running the software at a later stage. So make sure that you accept this directory as the directory where the software is going to be installed in. So then you click on next. So when you click on next, this section now says you're ready to install the Daemon Master. You click on install. So normally if your computer is very fast, this shouldn't take a lot of time. It should just install very fast. So, okay. So this is a small piece of software. So when it's done, you click on finish. So the moment you click on finish, then it will ask you now to start the process of installing the GMES eStation. So what is important is also for those who had installed the software earlier, to take note of the version of the software. So for example, if you look at this section, it will show you the version of the software that you're installing. So if we have people in this audience who had installed the software before, you can be able to change the version, the software that, or to check the version of the software that you're installing. So all you do is you need to agree to the installation process. So accept. Now here is very, very important. Select the components to install. Normally the first two install by default. However, the second one, eStation app and eStation layer, is optional. However, if you're doing this for the first time, please don't uncheck. Make sure all these are checked the way they are appearing on the screen right now, so that you have the full advantage of software. So you click on next. The same thing that I mentioned earlier, the destination folder or the directory where the software is going to be installed is selected by default in your local disk C. So, and it's going to create a folder called eStation 2. So normally you just have to leave that also default for a smooth installation of the software. Of course, sometimes we have issues of space in our computer. So you need to make sure that you have enough space. For my case, I have available space of about 130 GB, but the eStation will take about 2.7, which is about 3 GB of that. So I am sorted. If you don't have enough space, you need to ensure that, sometimes we have a lot of things in our computers that are very redundant. We don't even use them. So you need to check your download folder. If you see your download folder in your computer, sometimes you might have things there that are not even important or that you've already made use of in the previous workforce. So you need to delete them so that you have enough space in your computer. You also need to check the picture section, the music, and the video sections. You probably have some videos in your computer that you actually don't even want to have in your computer. So you can get rid of them so that you can gain more space in your computer. So next is when you click on that next button, then it will start doing the software installation. Now, what you need to note here is that when the eStation runs on two main key softwares in the computer, actually 3 of them. One is the Daemon Master, which we have already installed. Another one is the Postgres SQL, which manages the database. So the database is more like a store where all the Earth observation datasets are sitting in. So you need to make sure that you install your Postgres software. Another important software is the web server. In a later stage, we shall see that the software, the eStation software actually runs in your browser. So what does that mean? That means that if the eStation is hosted in your computer, however, the access to it is through a web server. So the web server that is normally used for the eStation is called Apache Tomcat. So we'll probably see it, but you may not see it, yet it is hidden in your computer. So we'll see that also at a later stage. Now, here, when you start the installation of the eStation software, it's going to open a section whereby it's installing the Postgres SQL. Now, what do you do? So for Postgres SQL, as you will probably see here, the SQL version that is being installed in your computer is Postgres 9.3.1-1. Now, Postgres SQL, for those who have done database management or programming, they already new versions. There is actually probably version 10 or rather 12 or 13 or 14 version. But now here we are using 9. Now the eStation software has been developed to work with the Postgres 9.3. And I'm going to take you through this, the manual at a later stage to show you some bits and information that is important for you to follow through. So you need to leave it to work with Postgres 9.3. Now, let me just take people through this because this is very important. If you have already Postgres installed in your computer, what do you do? Okay, so in Windows computer, the first thing you need to do is to go to the search section and type control panel. Control panel. Now the control panel is going to open. When the control panel opens, sometimes your computer might be showing large icons, or it could be showing small icons. Either of that, it's a bit difficult to locate the part whereby you need to install or uninstall softwares from. So what you do is you need to change the view by to be by category. And if it is view by category, then you will be able to see under programs, there's a section for uninstalling program. Now, what you do is if you have Postgres already running in your computer, it could be running a software, another software. Let's say you have Postgres 10. Maybe 12 or Postgres 13. Now, what you need to do is you simply need to go and uninstall that software, the Postgres that is in your computer. Now, the purpose is when you install Postgres for the first time, we are always not very keen, but Postgres will take what we call the port number. By default, if it doesn't get any software in your computer or Postgres in your computer, by default, it's going to consider port 5432. So the Postgres you will have installed earlier in your computer will take this port number. Now, when it takes this port number, when you're installing the eStation, it's going to run in a different port number. Now, this is going to affect the operation or the running of the eStation. Actually, in most cases, if it finds out that this port has already been taken, it's going to warn you that the eStation cannot be installed. So if you get any error of that kind, what do? You simply need to go and uninstall it from the control panel. So you look for Postgres SQL, which is letter P. So you scroll down up to letter P. And then when you locate that Postgres, let's say it could be maybe this. So all you do is you right click and uninstall that particular software. So just uninstall. Now, when you uninstall it, remember it's already running a certain program in your computer. So all you do is you uninstall it, then you reinstall it, but using a different port number. Okay? Just simply remove it and then bring it back. However, when it comes to the selection of the port number, then you select a different port number for that case. Now, my eStation is installing, and it's informing me that it's going to install Postgres of this version, as I mentioned earlier. And these are going to be the credentials of the Postgres that I'm installing. Now, these credentials is the port number, which I need to note somewhere, okay? So you either copy it or you write it in your notebook, or you could actually just put it or write it on your computer notebook or notepad. And then you can have it stored, because you'll need at later stage, at one time, you need to access the port number, the username, and the Postgres password, okay? In this case, I'm leaving everything by default. The username is going to be Postgres, and the password is also going to be Postgres, and I note down the port number. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this, because at the later stage, I need to check my database and see that the installation has completed successfully, but also I have the data already migrating inside my computer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to snip this part of my installation process, and I'm going to save it somewhere, my computer, so that I can use it at a later stage. Okay. Postgres details. So now that I have that detail correct, I can accept and say okay. So when I say okay, it's going to take its couple of minutes to install the software. Depending on how fast your computer is, some computers have, they use the hard drives to operate or where the operating system is installed. Others use the SSD as their operating default where this operating system is running. So if you're using SSD like me, then it will take a little bit faster to install. But if it takes a bit slow, or if you're using the hard drive in your computer, it will take a little bit more time. But don't worry, since you have all the time to do this process, so you can leave it to take its time. In the meantime, I'll just open the presentation so that I show you a couple of things. And then when I'm done with that, I can be able to come back and continue with this process. Okay, so some of the things that you needed to note in your computer later before running the software installation is that you'll need a Windows computer. A Windows computer means it's running the Windows operating system. And this Windows operating system should be what we call the 64-bit computer. Now, how do you check the operating system type, but also which byte it has? It can either be 32-bit or 64-bit. So how do you check for that? I'm going to do that quickly. So all you need to do is you go to your File Explorer, and then you right-click on this PC, and then you select Properties. Okay. So when you select Properties, it will open the details of your computer. Now, here I'll be able to see that my computer is installed with a number of things. Now, if I scroll down under the Windows specification, the edition of the Windows are going to be shown here. So you can be able to see which edition your Windows computer it's having. So mine is Windows 11, but Windows 10, Windows 7, all of them can install this program, okay? Now, the other thing to check again is the bytes of your computer. So when you scroll up, you'll be able to see the system type of your computer, which is right here. So you be on the lookout on the system type of your computer. So this section is where you can be able to view whether it's a 32-bit or a 64-bit. So what did I do? I simply opened the File Explorer from my computer, and then I located this PC section, right-clicked on it, and went to Properties, and then it opened up that section for me to view my properties of my computer. So you need to ensure that you have a Windows 10 or Windows 11 or Windows 7. What is very important is the bit. It has to be either 64-byte or bit or a 32-bit computer. Okay. Now, in terms of the RAM, the minimum that the software can work with smoothly. I'm not saying if you have a 2 GB, it will not work. It will work from your computer, but minimum, at least you should have about 4 GB RAM computer. The CPU is basically the central processing of your computer. You can also check whether it is 2 or 3, and I'm going to show you how to check for that. The other thing also, you need to have a bit of some storage free space in your computer. Here, I'm mentioning only 4 GB. The 4 GB is only important to store the installation program. However, for the data you need a very, very big or large storage. And normally, an external drive works better, because most of our laptops may not have up to about 1 TB. Others do have. I know there are those who really have it. They have a very large storage in their computers. But if you don't have, you simply need to purchase an hard drive, or if you already have an hard drive, between 1 TB and 2 TB is okay. If you want to have all the data sets for the Earth observation data sets that run within the eStation software, then you can have about 1.5 to 2 TB hard drive. But if you just want to run for a few applications, let's say that those who are interested in only the climate data, and there are those who are interested in temperature, climate, I mean the rainfall and the temperature, and let's say evapotranspiration, let's say the humidity. So if you're only interested in only those few, then you can have about 1 TB, between 500 and 1 TB of the data hard drive space to store the eStation or Earth observation data sets. So simply, those are things that are important. So I'll just show you how do you check for your CPU in your laptop or computer. Again, simply, all you need to do is you locate under the taskbar this icon for the Windows. You right-click on it, and then you either you can go to the task manager if you want to, or you can go to the device manager. So I'm just going to click on the device manager. So rather not, I think, looking at the device manager, yes. So here you can scroll down and then locate the processor. So remember, I was talking about the CPU. So you need to locate your processor. So when you click on your processor, it will be able to show you how many CPUs you have in your computer. Now mine has about how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I have 12 CPUs, but basically the computer considers them to be 6. So 12 divided by 2, then you get 6. So I have, now here we require you to have a minimum of 2 only, okay? So if you have 2 CPUs, when you check your processors, then you can be able to work. But mine has about 12, so that is much, much better. Okay. Now the disk, you also need to see the storage of your computer. How do you check that? The simpler way is to go to File, Browser, then you go to this PC. Now here you'll be able to see the disk space that you have. So in some computers, you have only one, others you have more than one. So we have normally what we call the disk C. So the disk C is where your software is installed, all those things sit. And then you have another disk, which is in this case, disk D. Others could be other letters, maybe H, maybe F, and so forth. So, or G, and so forth. So if you open your File Explorer, you'll be able to see these disks, and then you'll be able to note what is available versus the entire space that is in this disk. So the entire space in my disk is 475 GB. However, I've used most of it, as you can see, looking at this line that is blue. However, I have only 130 GB available, which is covering just a small space. Okay, so I need to ensure that I have more than 4 GB available for me to be able to install the software and use it successfully inside my computer. All right. Now, if you have the file, we have already done some of this, so I'm just going to go through the recap, and then I stop where we have stopped, and then proceed with the installation, and then come back and conclude. Now, I'm running this projection or this presentation because there are certain things that I could have not talked about, which I need to highlight this. So like I mentioned, the version of the software that we have is not this. So the new one has been released. So this is now a 2.2.2, as you probably see. So what you do is you double click on it, or you right click and run as admin, and then you can be able to run the software. Now, when you double click or right click and run as admin, there will be this part that will open. So you need to click on yes to be able to run software. Now, in the earlier version, or you might find the way your computer has been configured, minus Windows 11 and probably up to date. So I didn't see this section, but in case you get this problem that a pack is running, please remove the web server and retry, cancel the installation. Now, for some people who do a lot of analysis and programming, you could have installed Apache inside your computer. So you need to go and stop this Apache Tomcat from running, and so that you can be able to run your computer well. So how do you do that? So let's check on that as well. So all you do is, again, you locate this window section, you right click, and then open the task manager. When you open the task manager, for Windows 10 and Windows 7, this line is always located on the top here, but for Windows 11 and probably Windows 10 as well, they are located on the right. So all you need to do is to click on services. So when you click on services, you'll see all the available services that are running currently in your computer. Others are stopped based on the status. So when you look at this column of the status, you'll see that some services have stopped, others are running. So all you need to do is to search for Apache Tomcat, Apache. Right now, mine cannot be showed here, but all you need to do is to go and locate maybe Apache Tomcat. Let's say it is this one. So all you do is you right click and then you stop that Apache Tomcat from running inside your computer. So when you stop it, then it will be able to allow you run the installation of the software and then restart it again later. Okay, so that's how you locate and stop or start certain softwares from running in your computer. You can also do a startup setup for your computer at a later stage, and then you can, but this is a little bit more advanced or different from what we are trying to do. All you need to do is go to services and then search for that service that is making the software not to install. Then you stop it, then you can be able to run the installation. So as I showed you earlier, is that when you don't encounter this earlier problem that was shown here, automatically the daemon master installation or setup is going to open, and then you can be able to follow next and make sure you accept the terms, the license agreement. This manual is already uploaded and available for you, so you'll be able to follow it also in addition to the video step by step. So you click next, you accept the default location, next, and then you install. So the moment you finish installing the daemon master setup, then you'll be able to now start with the eStation installation setup process. So you agree, you leave everything by default, okay? Now, here, the user can choose the installation of the base layer by flagging or unflagging checkbox. Like I told you earlier, just accept all this as default. So next is you accept the directory or the location where the software is being installed, and then you run that. Now, like I mentioned, that if you have, it will install silently the Postgres in your computer. What is very important is that you need to note the details, the port, the details of user, name, and the password. Okay. Now, if you have Postgres in your computer and it's already, let's say, installed, okay? If by chance you have Postgres 9.3 already installed in your computer, what do you have to do? So if it detects that you already have the software in your computer, you need to enter the port of that that's the port that was used to install the version 9.3 in your computer. Now, this might be confusing, but what I am trying to emphasize here is that if for some reason you had already installed Postgres and by chance it is 9.3 in your computer, when you're going to install the eStation is going to detect that, hey, by the way, you have already installed the Postgres in the computer already. So can you kindly provide me the port number that you used and the password that you use? For those who do software development, whenever you have a software that you're installing and it requires you to input certain credentials, let's say the username, the port number, the password, we normally have a section where we save this information, okay? So if you have any software installation that you're doing at any one time in the future, and it requires you to input some credentials, make sure you note these credentials and put them somewhere and save them. Don't lose them, because when you lose them at one point, this information will be required and you will not be able to successfully install the program on the computer. So if you had installed Postgres 9.3 in your computer, supply eStation with the port number and the password of that Postgres that you installed, and then run the setup as usual. Now, or if you're using your computer and it's of maybe version 11, rather version 10, version 7, version 11, if you have your computer up to date, it may not show. But in any case, if you have this window open saying Windows Firewall has blocked some features of this app, all you need to do is allow access, because the eStation software that you're receiving as per now is not cause any harm to your computer. So try to make sure that you do that. You accept or allow the access through the firewall for the eStation to successfully install without challenges. Now, this is coming about because of the web server. The web server is ICPAC Tomcat, which I mentioned earlier. It's the one that is trying to tell the eStation to be able to do that. If you see something like this, all you need to do is allow access. If you don't, then you're good to go. Maybe your computer has already been configured to bypass the firewall when ICPAC Tomcat is being installed. Okay. Now, this is the post-installation setup that we shall do later. So let's first do it. Okay, let me go through it and then we can do it practically since I left my eStation installing. So after you've done the installation, you need to open the Daemon Master software. Remember, that has already been installed. And then in your Daemon Master software, you need to do some configurations. And the configurations that you will do is basically importing the 5 eStation services inside the Daemon Master. Okay, so how do you do that? So when you finish the installation, you will have this error, and I need to emphasize about this error. When you see this kind of errors showing that the UI or detect service cannot be started, all you need to do is just ignore this. This is normally because we are using the Linux or the Linux program inside Windows. So this error simply shows, comes up. So all you need to do is to ignore it and simply click OK. Also, you'll probably see that in addition, the question pop up where you have to answer yes. So if you see this question saying interactive process are being blocked by the registry key, you like to turn it off, simply say yes, so that application can be able to run without any challenge. So the 5 services of the eStation that you need to import normally sits in your local disk C inside a folder called eStation 2 and Daemon Master. I'll show you that when we're doing the practical part of installation of the step 4 of the installation of the software. So the services include the ES2 system, the UMedCast system. We'll talk more about the configuration of the software and the services that it's been using. It's using from tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursdays, and Friday. We'll be doing mostly application now, doing hands-on or making our hands a bit dirty later. So here, the services, another service is the ingestion services. So we'll explain what is the ingestion service doing in the eStation software. The internet service, so what is the internet service doing inside the computer? And also we have the processing service. So what is the processing service doing in the computer? So how to do that process. So to import them, you simply open the Daemon Master software, go to File, okay? So you simply go to File here, and then after clicking on File, you select Import. So you'll be able to import one of these services. So you have to import all of them, but you do it step by step, one at a time, okay? So when you click on Import, you're going to navigate to the directory that I mentioned earlier, and then you select that service, and then you select Open after selecting that service. So in this case, let's say we are selecting Internet service. So when you select it, then you must click on Open, okay? Now, After doing that, next is you need to leave this interface untouched. You don't have to change anything in this section. All you simply need to do is click on save. Okay? You leave others the way they are, and you simply click on save. Now, the startup type is manual, and I'm going to show you that you can automate this. So you can either say, you know what, I want it to start automatically if you want to. Okay, so you can change that to automated or automatic. If you don't want, you can leave it at manual. Sometimes your eStation, you want to do it for analysis. So you're not running an eStation, your computer as, you're not using your computer for eStation only. You're using it for other things. So you don't need to make this automated. However, for us who come from institutions, and our hope, our aim for this training is to have an eStation dedicated computer, then you need to make this automatic so that the ingestion or the internet access process, remember we are importing internet service. So we want this every time the computer is connected to the internet, the get internet service should be able to run so that it gets data from the internet. So when you're done with that, you simply click on save. And when you click on save, it will say that the service installation was successful. And if you've imported the service, remember you left it manual. Okay, if you had done it automatic, then it would run automatically. But since you left it manual, you need to manually right-click on that service. In this case, it is a Get Internet eStation service, and then you start the service. Then it will be able to run. Okay, so let's first do that, and then we come to step 5, which is the post-installation service or operation data. Let me do that. So here we ran the eStation. It has finished or it has completed. And then now it's saying that it's going to create and populate the database. Now remember we talked about the database to be Postgres SQL. So you need to say okay for it to do that. So it's going to open a couple of things and different windows for Postgres SQL. So don't do anything, just let it run, and it's going to close when it has finished initiating the upload process or the population process of your database, and then you leave it to populate. So depending on how fast your internet is, it will be able to run. So as it's running, let me check on the chat, see if it's saying. Okay. So somebody is saying, so we normally get these challenges. Okay. So Gabriel Alele is saying installation of Progress has finished with errors. Okay, my network has failed me, Andrew. Okay, Andrew, the recording is available. It will be made available to you after the training. Probably you'll check in after maybe an hour or two, and you'll be able to have the recordings available for you to follow through. Okay, Gabriel, you're saying Postgres is having an error. So now this error is simply because of some of those things that I talked about, but you will need to either remove the Postgres. So you stop the installation, you stop and cancel the installation. You first go and remove Postgres from your computer. And it's advisable normally to restart your computer, okay? You reboot your computer so that maybe any issue with the earlier Postgres can completely be removed. And then when there's no Postgres in your computer completely, then you can now run the installation again. You don't need to run the installation of Postgres separately. All you need to do is to run the eStation, because the eStation will silently run or install the Postgres SQL inside your computer. Okay. Okay. Enrollment key for the course. Harold, I've shared this enrollment key. It is NHMA_2024. So this is the enrollment key. Key for the course. Okay, so you can enter that enrollment key and it will allow you to access course in the e-learning platform shared. Mutevi, you're saying, do I need to have a free 1 TB space for me to have all the packages? Now, the 1 TB, the TB free space that I'm talking about is where the archive, eStation, or Earth observation dataset sits. And looking at your name, if you're inside Uganda, if you're in Uganda or you're in Makerere University or you have ability to reach Makerere University, all you need to do is to come to what we call the Earth Observation Lab, which is in the School of Forestry, Makerere University. And then you can be able, if you have that space, a TB plus of hard drive or inside your computer, you can come and then you'll be able to have the Earth observation data given to you to be able to run with this software. Okay, all right. Those are a few questions that I got in the chat. Thank you, Doctor, for responding to a number of them. I think we are moving perfectly well. Stephen, Aziz, I've shared the enrollment code, so you can be able to have that. People are saying the download of the software, it has completed uploading, so you should be able to have it. Where did I put it? I uploaded it in a wrong place. Let me check. Maybe I'll put it in. I could have put it in a different directory. So about this, let me just move it. I'm going to move it to our folder. Inside this folder. Okay. All right. So the software is now in the right folder, which I've shared with you. Okay, it's already there, so you can be able to access the eStation software. You simply need to click on it and then click on download, okay, to download it to your PC shortly. All right, so let's continue with the software installation. Now, I mentioned to you that when you complete the installation, it may or may not automatically open this window. Now, I said, first, you're going to have this part of the question that will ask you, and this question is coming from the daemon master, so you say yes. So when you say yes, you'll have something that says the UI or detect service cannot be started, so simply just say okay. And when you say okay, you need to now start the process of, you leave this window running, don't touch it. You need to start the process of importing the services, okay? So the services, like I mentioned, is sitting in your local disk C. So you go to this PC, local disk C, you'll see a folder eStation 2. So now when you click on eStation 2, you locate a folder called the daemon master. I've explained all that in the manual. So you'll be able to see the services, all of them here. So now that you know where they are, come back to the daemon master window. If this daemon master is not seen or it is closed, by mistake, you could have closed it without knowing. All you need to do is you go to the daemon master, you double click on it from your desktop, you go through the same process, say yes, then you say okay. So it's still going to open. So you can simply open it by doing that. You double click on the daemon master software shortcut from your PC, and then you access it here. So you need to now go through the process of importing the services. So you go to File, Import. You already know where it is, okay? So all you do is you scroll down, go to this PC, local disk C, and then you go to eStation folder. When you go to the eStation folder, you go to the daemon master folder, and then you select the first service, and then you click on Open. So when it opens, like I told you earlier, in this section, you can now decide what you want to do. Do you want to make it automatically to run, or you want to do it manually, depending on purpose, like I mentioned earlier in the manual, that you can do this manually, or you want to, you can also do it automatically. But in this case, you don't touch anything, simply click on save. And then you'll have this success warning or an alert saying that the service installation was successful. Simply say okay. So you've imported the first service. So you need to import the remaining 4. So you go to File, Import, second service. I say okay, rather save, okay. And then I go, I import another one again. So this is going to be the third, the ingestion service. And I say okay. And then I'm going to import the 4th service. In this case, is the get internet service. Then I save, and okay. And then I import the last one, which is going to be processing service for the eStation. I save, and then I say, okay. Now, yeah, Rhoda, I'll share the manual. The manual is already in the classroom. I don't know if I upload it here, it can be able to, let me see if I upload it here, if it can come. It's not a very big software, so it should be able to come. So yeah, that's the manual to you, Rhoda. All right, so when you finish picking all the, importing all the services, remember the status now it's shown stopped. So you need to start them. So you right click, start the service, okay? And then service successfully started, say okay. You give it a few seconds. My computer is very fast, so yours might be a little slow. So you need to take note that you give it some bit of minutes to start. You don't need to rush. Then you say okay. To start this one, say okay. To start this one, say okay. To start this one, then you say okay. All right. So now that you're finished importing and starting all the services, you simply need to close this daemon master window, and then you come back to the installation. Now, there's a part that we missed, and we missed simply because I closed the eStation folder. Now, and I'm going to show you that part a little later. So let's close, since it has completed successfully for my case. So the next step is going to be for you to start the eStation. Now, starting the eStation is in two ways, okay? The first step of starting the eStation is to go to your start menu of your computer. You locate a folder called eStation, and then you click on Start eStation Services. That is the first part. So that first part is basically starting the services that we just did manually, but you can also start them like that through this step. The next start of the eStation is by going to your browser and you type localhost in your browser. You just type HTTP localhost in your browser. It will be able to start the eStation and to be able to run. I'll explain about the verification steps in our next stages later. Now, after you've done that, you need to go to the System tab. After starting the eStation, you need to go to the System tab and you configure the folder for the data. And I'm going to show you how that is done right away. Okay. Mildred, you're saying, I have two folders in the eStation, not sure where to find the packages. Okay, Mildred, we'll go through this later because I don't get your question. But if you can maybe type a little more so that I can be able to understand what you mean by that. Okay. Right. So let's go through that process, those two steps. So the first step is to start the eStation services. We have already done them manually, but I want to show you how you do them next time when you want to use the eStation program. So you simply go to Start menu. For Windows 10, automatically they're going to open on the left-hand part of your computer. For Windows 11, it's going to open probably like the one I have. Then you go to Start, and then you go to All Programs. Click on All Programs. You scroll down, or you can search for eStation folder. So you scroll down. So it's under Start. S. So Start or Restart eStation Services. So you scroll down until you get this piece of software or part so that you can click on it. So when you click on it, it's going to ask you to say yes to the user access control. And then what it's doing, like I told you earlier, it's starting a Pachytom cat. And then when it completes, your computer might be a little slow, so it will take a lot of time, but mine is a little faster. So when it completes, it's going to close by itself. So you don't have to start worrying where it could be. So you simply need to go to the second part. So the second part is to open your browser, like the way I'm doing. And then you open a new tab. Okay. So you open a new tab in your PC, and then you simply type localhost. So when you click on type on localhost, and you enter, it's going to run, and you'll be able to see it's going to load the eStation. Now, your computer might be a little slow, so you don't have to really worry. Let it run for a couple of minutes. Don't rush it, and you'll be able to have your eStation application open successfully here like this. All right. I'm going to ask for a 10 minutes break before 10, rather 5. I think we need only 5 because I need to respond to some of the questions that people are having. So we'll just pause the recording and then we continue after 5 minutes. Okay. So to continue with the installation, now the data sets, the archive data set. First of all, if you go to the folder that I've shared, you'll be able to see archived data. Now, this is the data that I've put just to do the training. But if you see all the data sets, you'll see that the data sets are really huge. I've just prepared this for the training so that people can be able to have just to look at what it is. But if you see this data is it's huge. Fortunately, I can't look at the details here, but it's about 100 GB data. Of course, for the training purposes, you don't have to download everything. You can download maybe one folder at a time if you have the access to internet. But like I mentioned, if you are in Makerere or some of the countries that I've mentioned, I think we'll get more details of which countries and which of institutions to contact for each of the African countries in details tomorrow, so that you can be able to go there and access the data. But if you manage later to download this data, this is how you can use it. Now, if you go to your local disk C from your file browser, if you go to your local disk C, you'll be able to see there is a folder that has been added. It's called data. Okay. Now, this data is a folder which has all the data sets that, or it's a folder that is defaulted. Which word can I say? So by default, this folder is created in your computer in your local disk C, and it is where they hope or the software picks the Earth observation data sets from. Okay, so this is the folder that is used. Now, this folder does not necessarily have to be in your local disk C. This folder can also be in your hard drive, okay, your external drive. It can also be in another disk. So that is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to copy or cut this folder from my local disk C, because my local disk C does not have a lot of space already. It's already full. So then I go to my external drive. Okay. I'm going to go to my external drive and I paste it there. Okay. Or I could also go to my other local disk, in this case, local disk D, and then I can be able to paste it there. So since I've pasted it in my external drive, I have it called data. So then what do I do? What I do is the data that I have copied, I have downloaded the archive data. I simply go inside it, this folder that I pasted, and I paste all my data sets inside that folder. So what I mean is, if you come to archive folder, which you're going to download, when you open it, you'll be able to see all these data sets here. So what you do is you paste these data sets the way they are. So you have the CHAPS, the card, the FuseNet, the LST, the NDVI. So you paste them the way they are. You don't paste that whole folder at once. So what I mean is you don't paste archive data. You paste these individual folders inside that data folder. So when I go back to my data folder, so I have my data folder here, but when I open it, I'll be able to see the individual folders. So in other words, if I put this side by side, so I would paste CHAPS DCAD inside my data folder. I would paste FuseNet RFE or rainfall estimate inside here. I would paste also the LSA here and then the NDVI here. So then I would have all of them arranged in order here. Okay. So that's the first step. So after organizing my folder in a right way, I go to my eStation and then I type localhost. So when I type on localhost, I go to what we call the system folder. Remember, this is the post-installation steps. Yeah, we have not yet finished with installing our software. This is the post-installation operation. So in the post-installation operation, you need to click on your system folder tab rather. After opening your eStation program, you click on the system tab, and then you will be able to locate this section. So the first is to change the data location. So that's what we're going to do. So you come here, you click on the systems. Now, if you look at my directory path, you'll see that all of them are in local disk C. So you'll see that under data, you have C. Under ingestion, you have C. Under static, you have C, and so forth. So all of them have been defaulted to C. So what do you do? You need to change these directories. Now, here, you need to first understand how the data folder that you have in your external drive is configured. So if I go to my external drive here, the letter it has is E, okay? All right, so this is E. Now, I want to first, before I even do this, I want to show you before and after. So before you connect your data to the system, to the eStation, if you go to acquisition, you'll see nothing. If you go to processing tab, you'll see nothing. If you go to the data management tab, you'll see nothing. And also analysis, everything is empty. So now let's configure it so that we can now see the content later. So I told you that my external drive is having letter E, and then my data, this is the directory, so it is E:/data. So that is also the same way I should be able to change this directory. So mine, it's going to be, so I replace C with E, capital E. Ingestion, if you look at ingestion here, ingestion, if I open this ingestion, you'll see that it is E data ingestion, okay? So I need to also make sure that is running the same way. So E. Now E data, then this slash is different. That is how the eStation understands it. So you don't have to bother changing these slashes. You just leave it the way it is. So for static data, also for static data, you simply need to change this to E. And you simply skip the archive. I'm going to explain how the archive works. So for now, let's just keep it for now. And then the UMEDcast directory. So you come back here to local disk C. If you come back to local disk C and you go to eStation, you'll be able to see the UMEDcast folder here. So the UMEDcast folder also needs to move to the other directory. So you simply cut it, then you come here, and then you put it here. So the moment you put it this side, then also here you need to change the directory and say it will be E. And then it's not eStation this time, it is data. Small letters this time. And then UMEDcast. So get UMEDcast output. Also, you need to change that. So you go to C, data, and then ingest. So that I've already changed. I remember I copied it and put it this side. So ingest is here. So that is going to be sitting here. So all I need to do is I come to get UMEDcast output to be under C, or rather E, and I change it to E. Get internet output, also I want it to be E. Okay, so what I've done is I've changed the data directory to E because that is where my external drive is. And inside my external drive, I have data as the next folder. Ingest, I have that. Static, I have that, and so forth. Okay, so don't forget to save. So you need to come here and make sure you look for the save button here. Save the settings that you've changed. Now, that is the first step of changing the settings. The next step is to work with the theme. So, so after saving, if I come back to acquisition, I still don't see anything. Processing, I still don't see anything. Data management, I still don't see anything. Now, the reason for you not seeing that is because under the theme here, under this theme, you have not specified your theme. Now, what is the theme? The theme is basically, or the theme is basically which region in Africa do you want data to be linked to? Okay, so there are so many themes in Africa, and we are going to explain all that in our next presentations. But the theme that we want to work with, there are quite a number of them. So if you click on modify, there are a number of themes. So we have African Center of Meteorological Application for Development. We have Botswana Department, Agri-Med. Then, of course, we have the IGAD. So the IGAD is the ICPAC. So I stands for IGAD, C, Climate Prediction and Application Center. So that's ICPAC. You can also decide to go with a theme of Joint Research Center. So this is in Europe. So that this is, if you select this one, that means you want data for the whole of Africa. Now, that is good if you want to have that, to have data for the whole of Africa, but then it has a challenge that you will need a lot of space. You need a lot of space. You need about 4 TB or 6 TB to be able to have all the data sets for the whole of Africa. Then you have Mauritius Oceanographic Institute. So that's the data that is covering the ocean atmosphere, rather the ocean areas. We have the National Authority for Remote Sensing and Space, and a number of them. So University of Ghana. So these are consortia, okay? I think Dr. Eugene Kaijamahe, our project coordinator for GMES, mentioned about some of these consortia. So these are all consortiums that are within the GMES and Africa program. So the one that we need to select, or that you have to select, is going to be IGAD, because IGAD, in this training, we have people coming from different regions. So depending on the region where you're coming from, you can also have the SADC region. So if your region is up that end, then you can select that. But for those ones in the East African region, I talk about the Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, Uganda, Kenya, Ethiopia, Sudan, South Sudan, Eritrea, and Somalia, and all those countries on the East African countries. Those ones should select IGAD, because IGAD is covering all those areas. If you're in SADC region, then you select the SADC region. So for East African countries, you can go with IGAD or RCMRD, which is the Regional Center for Mapping and Resource for Development. And then those in Ghana areas, you can go with the University of Ghana Consortium and all that. So depending on which region you see yourself fit, I know if people in these regions already can see the consortiums here, and they can know that this one applies for my area. So those for East Africa, and including me, I'm going to select IGAD. So the moment I select IGAD, I need not to forget to save. So I need to click on save. So the moment I click on save, everything, this information for the thema is now filled with ICPAC as my consortia. Then if I come back to acquisition, so all I need to do is now to refresh my eStation. So if I refresh my eStation, now you'll see that the categories, the product categories get loaded. So under acquisition, I now have the 5 categories of products loaded. If I go to processing and I also refresh, this time I'm not going to refresh from my browser. I can simply refresh within the eStation software. So also under the processing, I have my 4 product categories loaded. If I go to data management, it's loading automatically. So I can have now my products loaded, but that doesn't mean that the data sets are available in the product categories. We'll now check and see which data sets are there and which ones are missing. Now, in the data management, you'll be able to see products also. Now, if you click on the plus sign next to each of the product category, you'll be able to see.
Maybe I can add something there on when you were talking of the theme. I think, like you've indicated, I've not yet, looked through this list very well to see where most of our participants are coming from. But irrespective of where you are coming from, the reality is that data is available for the whole continent. So, like Thomas mentioned, why we choose to pick a particular theme is because we want to reduce on the amount of time we need to process the data sets. If you are processing data for the whole of Africa, with our laptops, you will take a long time. But if you pick area of interest, if you are from SADC, if you are from the Indian Ocean states, in using maybe the Mauritius Oceanic Institute as the theme. If you are from University of Ghana with the marine areas. So when you choose that, the system clips out data for only that region, and that saves us time to make sure that we're able to clear what we are what we are doing. I mean, we are doing. So make sure even in this work, if somebody is choosing ICPAC and you are choosing SADC, you will come up with the same thing. But maybe for training purposes, we can just choose ICPAC for uniformity. But then you know that when you start working on your region, I mean within your region, when you pick MOI or University of Ghana or SASCA and whatever, the consortium, it will be basically the same steps you'll be going through. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. Our minutes are almost done, so we need to wrap up today's session. So what we've done is we simply came and configured our system tab to ensure that our dataset locations are well aligned. And then also we went ahead and modified the theme. And something that Doctor is saying that in case you've selected the wrong theme, and I think somebody in the chat selected something different. I don't know whether that's Alan. So if you make a mistake and select the wrong theme, okay, you can be able to modify that at a later stage. And I'll be able to show you that quickly. So what you do is, I need to put a disclaimer here that you should only do this when you know what you're doing. If you're not sure of what you're doing, I mean, I've explained it in the manual, but if you're not sure about what you're doing, then you don't have to do this, because this might either break the software or your whole computer at a go. Okay, so make sure you do this only if you know what you're doing. So how do you, if you've by mistake selected the wrong theme, so let's say you were here and by mistake you selected the wrong theme. Remember, this now grays out, so you cannot modify it from the graphical user interface of the eStation. So how do you modify it inside? So you do a little bit of programming, not something so hard. You go to your local disk C, you go to the eStation, and then you go inside the eStation, the second folder of eStation, and then you go to the system. Remember, you were in the systems, and the systems settings are always inside the settings. So you go to the system setting, then what you need to change, right now, the theme is ICPAC. So you need to know which theme you need to change. That's the challenge, but so you need to type the theme here. So if I type, since I know what I'm doing, remember, you need to know what you're doing. So I want to change it to RCMRD. If I do that, I need to click save. And if I save this, I save that and I come back here and refresh. And I refresh this setting tab. Now you'll see that my theme is going to change from ICPAC to RCM RD. Okay. Now, you need to know what you're doing, because these themers, you need to type the right thing. If you don't, then you're going to lose everything. Okay. All your connections or all the products are not going to be displayed. So you need to really, really know what you're doing before you can be able to do that. So all these tabs that you're seeing me click back and forth. Okay, I had a bit of an internet hiccup, but also our time is up. Just share my screen for the final steps as we close the session for the day. So all these tabs that you're seeing here are going to be, we're going to go through them step by step. Each of the tabs are we're going to go through them step by step, how to configure all of them and to make sure that they are working. I just want to check if my data is already being processed. So in my hard drive, the data sets I have is the ThermSat, so I can check on the ThermSat data. So how do I do that? So I go under acquisition and I scroll down under rainfall. So ThermSat is under rainfall. Some of these things you'll learn them after time, so you don't have to worry. When I go to ThermSat, I'm still waiting for the data to upload. I know it's going to take a bit of time. Also, I can simply refresh or restart the processing of this. You'll find that by later on the day, I'll be able to see my data set uploaded here on the later stage. But I can also restart the services, internet service and ingest service. You remember, these are the services that we were uploading last time. Get internet, ingest service, and so many, all of them. So I'll give it a few minutes for it to access all the data sets I have in my drive, and I'll be able to have them in here. Okay. So you don't have to worry. We have the plans for you to complete this training successfully well, whether you have the data or you don't have the data in your computer. There's another system that has already been set up that will allow us to do most of the analysis. Of course, the acquisition, processing, and data management shall still be using our data sets. Time is up, and I just want to invite Dr. Waiswa to close us for the day. And then I'm going to remain online to help those who have gotten challenges installing the software. Doctor, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Thomas, and I thank the participants